EVs are cool, but confusing, right? What happens when an EV is caught up in traffic? Do they explode? Can an EV charge overnight? And yes, I tackled the weird question about charging your EV with solar energy while driving. Yeah, but to do this, I couldn't tackle all the single step-by-step questions. So I decided to sort out 10 most interesting questions. And guess what? I kept the most interesting and the most important for the end. So stay tuned to the end, and I assure you that if you stay tuned to the end, you will not be disappointed. So the first question was, can fast charging damage your electric vehicle's battery in the long run? Yeah, you have gone to the dealership, you have bought your electric vehicle, sometimes at prices very high, and after a certain while they tell you you don't have to fast charge. Yes, I know from this you will find the question of why is it so? But the truth is, it actually correlates to even our daily activities. Like for a human being, let's say you are preparing for an examination, and most of our practices is that you usually take like so much caffeine and not the rest in order for your body to be able to work longer hours. You see, and the impact of the caffeine is that it will actually keep you up for the longer hours. But we know that if you continually do this in the long run, visible effects will be seen on your body. The same thing applies to the electric vehicle. And over fast charging the vehicle is like stressing the battery. You are like making the battery to work intensively more than what it can actually work. So that's actually what happens. Recent research from scientists have shown that over fast charging your vehicle will actually lead to something known as lithium plating, whereby lithium plating is a situation where the amount of lithium is being inserted into part of the battery where actually it doesn't supposed to be, which actually leads to the destruction of the battery. You see, so this is one of the main reasons. But other results have shown that if you actually fast your battery but not regularly, not on daily basis, the result or the difference will not actually be overseen as compared to you not even fast charging. So I will advise you that even if you want to fast charge your vehicle, you can do it 1 to 2 times a week and not like every time. You see, you can for a better lifespan of your battery, you can do that like 1 to 2 times a week and have the normal charge for the rest of the days of the week. Yeah, for this question. The next question was, what happens to your EV when you are stuck in traffic? Will the battery die? Now, the truth is, as compared to the normal thermic vehicles or the internal combustion vehicles, when these vehicles are caught up in traffic, they actually burn fuel because they are not actually, they don't actually stop their engine. Most of them actually, continue burning fuel when they are in traffic. But as compared to EVs, this is not the case. With EVs, actually, when the wheels are not turning, no energy is actually being used. So you don't actually use energy except due to maybe your temperature conditions, whereby you maybe turn on your AC or your heater depending on the climate conditions. You see, actually the EV as compared to the thermic vehicles, the internal combustion EVs, don't actually use their energy when they are in traffic. They only use it depending on whether their weather conditions, whether it's too hot where they will turn on the AC, or when it's too cold when they will turn on the heater. So that is it. Now, this third question out of the 10 questions was that, why do extreme hot or extreme cold weather actually affect the EV range? Now, the truth is, it's not the EV range the problem or the EV battery the problem. The truth is, you are the problem, because depending on the weather condition, you will either turn on the AC or the heater. Like for example, if you are in a very, very low temperature zone, you will actually turn the heater to warm you up. Or if you are in a very high temperature zone, you will turn on the AC to cool you up. So it's the use of this heater or this cooler, this AC, that actually uses more energy, and it actually directly proportionally affects the EV range or the amount of energy you use for the EV. So this is how it is. Using more comfort actually leads to lesser range. That's it. What happens when everybody starts using EVs? Let's take a scenario by everyone comes back home at 6 p.m. and after they have drained their battery for the whole day, they have to charge. So when everybody plugs, all the electrical grid will actually hit their top notch. But will this survive? The answer is it will not if planning is not actually well done. But let's say with the coming of alternatives such as solar energy and the coming of more smart chargers, which will not actually need to instantly charge the vehicle, which these chargers can actually wait till late hours such as midnight when no one is watching, let's say, Netflix or any other thing that uses electricity. So with the coming of these alternatives and actually revolutions, this problem can be tackled with coming with good planning techniques can help tackle this problem. Now the fifth question was, can the current African infrastructure actually take care of the upcoming EVs, of the coming of electric vehicles? Yeah, this is a question that we could not actually finish this series of questions without it actually arriving. You know, Africa in certain areas don't have actually electricity. So in certain areas, such as in certain villages, the coming of EVs will actually look like something which doesn't actually make sense. But EVs can normally be used in urban areas, such as maybe Douala or Limbe, in certain urban African, African cities, where electricity is very accessible. EVs can be used. But there is a coming of this revolution, which is once more the coming of solar energy. So the coming of this alternative is something that will not even need the use of the normal electricity. So with solar energy, which can be installed anywhere due to the presence of sunlight, in the African communities everywhere. So this alternative is actually very important and will actually help solve this problem. Because even now in urban areas where electricity is present, with the coming of EVs, there is also a second thought of installing solar panels. So even without the presence of current electricity, solar energy is one of the main alternatives to help tackle with actually this problem. Are EVs actually cheaper to maintain? This was the sixth question out of a series of 10 questions. And I tell you, yes. Despite anything that will be told about EVs or thermic vehicles, EVs will always remain cheaper. And the reason is actually quite obvious. The coming of electric vehicles don't actually have so many movable parts, which is in the case of thermic vehicle. So parts such as the engine, parts such as the filters, the oil tank, the fuel tank, the exhaust system is not actually present in electric vehicles. Electric vehicles only contains parts such as maybe the motor, the battery, and all the rest. And maybe the only point where it can actually use, get some maintenance is only in braking, which in this case is even again more efficient because it uses regenerative braking. You see, so maintenance in EVs is always less as compared to thermic vehicles due to the presence of fewer movable parts. They will not be used, the presence of few movable parts, which leads to less friction, is actually due to all this friction between these movable parts that causes actually so much damage in thermic vehicles, causing them to actually have maintenance all the time. But this is true that at the beginning, let's say if you are trying to maintain your EV, like in buying a new battery, you see, this might cost you more than maintaining a thermic vehicle. But if you actually ride in your daily activities, like riding in the normal city, if you're not actually doing some rally, your battery will never be spoiled. So keeping it in these conditions whereby your battery has no problem, EVs are always less to maintain, cost less to maintain as compared to thermic vehicles. The next question was, why are electric vehicles still expensive while we say they are actually coming to save the planet? This is a very interesting question. And the reason is quite obvious. It is due to the electric vehicle's battery. Despite the case of maybe, let's say, EV coming to revolutionize the space of the automobile field, we have to keep in mind that it's an innovation. For innovations, there is so much money that has been put in the process. Most of these companies, are trying to get back their money, get back the money they invested in the innovations and all the rest. And also the battery, the extraction of lithium the extraction of nickel, cobalt, all these raw materials needed to build these batteries are quite expensive. And the maintenance and all the rest is actually quite expensive. So this is the main reason why EVs are actually still expensive. But it's the same thing that actually happened when there was like no phones and no laptops. You only had the fixed. The price for a single phone was actually very high. This is because many people had not yet come to use it. But as more people came up using phones, we can even have a phone now at 10,000 francs. The same thing applies to EVs. The more we will actually start using electric vehicles, the prices will actually drop down. So the second to the last question, that is the 9th question out of this 10 question, was what happens to this electric vehicle's battery in 10 years time? This question is quite interesting and quite important because with the growing of electric vehicles, we use actually so much raw material to be able to build all this battery and all the rest. But the truth is, the good lifespan of an electric vehicle battery is from 10 to 15 years. And the thing is, even after these batteries have undergone this number of years, they have not actually lose all their capacity. They still keep about 60 to 70% of the charge of their capacity. That is, these batteries can still be used in other alternatives, like maybe powering solar houses, for example. And even when after their batteries range has actually been diminished all the rest, new companies, there are new evolutions whereby these batteries are being recycled to produce newer batteries. The lithium, the nickel, and the other raw materials are being recycled to actually produce new batteries. The truth is, the process is not actually well cycled yet, but it is coming because we are trying to make it as efficient as in the case of aluminium or in the case of glass, whereby nothing is actually lost. We are trying to make it like a closed cycle whereby whenever it starts from the cycle life of using, let's say, the battery, drops to actually powering houses, and the next step is actually recycling back these raw materials to actually be used in other newer batteries. In this case, no pile of actually nickel or any other raw material will be seen anywhere. Now, the last question, which was a very tricky one, one that even I myself could not imagine someone actually asked me, is that will the solid state battery actually come to revolutionize the space? The different types of EV batteries, whether it's the nickel metal hydride battery, whether is the lithium ion battery, I had a video about the types of electric vehicles battery. I can click here to watch the video. So it was talking about the solid state battery coming to actually swap out all the current defects or the current problems the recent type of electric vehicle battery has. And this was the solid state battery. So this actually arises because this solid state battery is actually solid. So it has a high energy density, meaning it can keep more amount of energy per area or per volume of the battery. It also has a low self-discharge rate, meaning this battery cannot actually self-discharge. And even talking about the safety measures, due to its solid state, it's not actually flammable, which is actually one of the most useful feature of this solid state battery. So once I made this video on these types of electric vehicle battery, this is actually what was in me, and somebody actually came to ask me this question. And the truth is, yes, this solid state battery actually does all of this. It will actually come to revolutionize this space. But let's be honest, and the truth is, for now, this battery is not left fully in use, as I mentioned in the previous video. But by 2027, as data says from Tesla and BYD, their official site, they say by 2027, this solid state battery will actually be fully in use. So by this time, you will actually have a fully solid state battery, whereby you will not have any fear of, let's say, your vehicle catching in flames and all the rest. So the solid state battery is actually the one who will come to revolutionize the electric vehicle space. So if you love this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell not to miss any of our future videos.
Click here to watch our next video on the next.